Okay, so we have other video guides that have kind of talked through filling out a report or setting up notifications when a report is filled out. But this video guide is targeted towards people who want to view reports that have been submitted and analyze those reports individually or trends across multiple reports. So that's what I'm going to show you in this video guide. So if you have questions about signing into your homepage, or the app or anything like that, definitely check out the other video guides. I'm already signed into my homepage as an administrator. And so right away I can see the reports that I have access to. They are kind of broken down at a high level for the last 30 days on my homepage. And so this is just kind of a quick look at some of the different categories and questions for those responses that have been coming in. But to really dig into the data, I'm going to click on the reports link on the left side, and then this is going to show me all of the reports that I have access to. And so before I go into this, I just want to show you what I mean when I say access throughout this video. In the control panel, depending on whether you have permission to view these things, there is a roles and permissions grid, and you can actually choose whether employees or managers or admins actually have access to fill out or view reports. So here, employees have access to submit or fill out reports, but they can't actually view the responses. And so I'm an admin, so I have access to everything, but this is where this is managed for administrators. All right, so back to my reports page. I can basically view the responses for any of the reports that I have in the system. These are the boilerplate reports that are built in, but you could of course create your own report from scratch, and then yours would be listed here, and then you would be able to view the responses in the same way for that report that you created. So that could be an audit, or that could be all kinds of things that you could create as forms in the system. So I'm going to go into we'll go into the near miss report. And so this page is the page that shows me what reports have been coming in. So real quick, the very top shows me different filters that I can choose what data I'm actually looking at. This area shows me the different kinds of outputs or the ways I'm going to view that data. So by default, it's going to show the individual reports listed out individually. And so here is the actual output. So I have my individual responses are listed here. So I've got a little trend graph of those responses, a map of where they are, and then an actual listing of those responses down here. So I'll go back through all this to explain it in a little bit more detail. So back to the top, right now, by default, it's going to show reports that have come in for the last 7 days, and that was controlled right here. So I could say, I'd really rather look at the last 30 days, and I could just change that, and then it'll automatically update the data that I'm viewing down here. I could also choose any of these other time intervals, or I could choose a custom range to actually say, I want to view data from a certain start date to a certain end date, and so on. So I'm going to stick with 30 days for now. You could choose who the observer was. So you could say, I want to see all the reports that have come in from Mark Ashley. So there's one observation in the last 30 days from Mark. And then you could choose the maps, the geographic location that they were at whenever they submitted a report. And so you could actually go in and you could just drop a pin and say, I want any reports that were submitted within 100 miles of this area. So I will clear that out for now. You could view reports that have a pending follow-up. So if someone created a follow-up and it has not been resolved yet, you could click on pending follow-ups right there and it's going to show those. So I only have one right now. So I will clear that out as well. And then those are kind of the high-level filters that you have for all the different reports, even the boilerplate ones that you create, or the ones that you create from scratch. But then you have filters that are set up for each of the individual questions that are within your form. And so if your form has a category option, which has a working, driving, or environmental, you could say, I want to view all of the driving category near misses in the last 30 days. And then that's the data that you're looking at down here. And then that's the same for all these other questions. I could say, I want the driving and the working category that have a high or a critical severity level. So right away, I'm able to really dig into this data and see exactly what I want, or filter the data to be exactly what I want. And I can see exactly what I'm looking at broken down right here. So in terms of the outputs, so far I've only shown you the individual responses. You can view a little bit more information with those individual responses. You could say, right now I'm only showing 20 per page, so I've got 2 pages of those, but I could show more per page. I could change it to sort in different ways, and then I can actually view whatever data I want listed right here. So I could say, I'd really like it to include the recurrence right there. And I could hide the follow-ups because maybe I don't care about that right now. And so now I could say, all right, now I'm seeing, rare, frequent, random for these different. So I'm actually able to pull in the form data into my results right here. So in a second, I'm going to show you what an individual report looks like. But for now, I want to show you, these are the individual responses output, but I want to show you some of these other outputs. So we have a trend output, and it's a lot like the trend you already saw, except it's just a bigger graph that kind of lets you really dig into the data and zoom in and view the number of responses and everything. You also get a trend line for that. You can view a larger map to actually see where those responses have been coming in. You can click on one to actually view that specific response. And then we have basically outputs that are according to the questions that you have within the field. So my first question is, what field office is it? Well, I have a bar graph and a pie graph for those, and then I can click on those bars in the pie areas and actually view just those responses. So I could view only Bville right there if I wanted to, and basically it would change this filter to only show Bville along with the last 30 days and the category and severity. So that's true for all of these answers right here. With the category, I can see a breakdown of driving versus working versus environmental, and severity and recurrence. And there's even outputs for text analysis. So if people are creating common phrases within their descriptions, you could search for those common phrases. And then this is junk data, but you can see that it would show you the full text that they had written. You could actually view the response right there. So there's a lot of pretty powerful capabilities built into viewing the output of all these different responses. Also, on this little drop down to the right here, I have all this data set up right here. I could export it to an Excel spreadsheet or as a PDF report. And so what I may want to do is I may have a customer. Let's see, I'll clear these out real quick. I could have a customer that says, hey, I want to see all the reports for the last 30 days. And so let's see, where's my customer? And then I could choose the customer, and now it's showing all the last 30 days for Chesapeake Energy. And then I could choose export to a PDF report, and that would actually download a PDF report that would have your logo at the top, a summary of the information, and a breakdown of all of the individual responses even. And you can kind of custom tailor the way that looks whenever you're designing the form. All right, so that's kind of the analysis side of things at a high level. In terms of viewing a report, you can actually click the details on one of these, and it takes you into that specific report. So I can see this was filled out by Derek Brown at a certain date at a certain time, and then I can see the map of where he was, what the weather was like whenever he filled it out and where he was, and then his actual responses over here. If there's an unresolved follow-up, it's going to list it here, and then it's going to list the kind of the dialogue of what's been happening within that follow-up. If there are photos, they'd be shown in line right here, and then you have a revision history. And so if I have access within the website, I can actually hit the edit button right here, and I could go in and I could actually edit this report and go in and say, the severity, I would really call this a high severity report. And so I'll hit submit, and then now it will show that I have 2 versions now. The original one that was submitted, and then I updated it at 12:30 p.m. to say that the severity was something else. And then you can actually view the history of those by clicking. I could click version 1, and it'll actually show me the way it was originally inputted with the original severity, and then I could view the latest and then view it as it is now. The other capabilities that are designed right here are you could download this as a PDF, and that'd be if you just wanted to print it maybe, or if you wanted to store it for some kind of record or whatever. And then you also could email this PDF or this report to somebody inside or even outside the system. So you just type in their email address right here, add a message, and then the report will be attached to the email that is sent out. So that's kind of a quick look at all the different ways that you can kind of view groups of reports or individual reports. The system has capabilities of doing notifications when a report is filled out, and of course you can edit these forms and everything, but those are in different video guides. So definitely check out the video guide help section of Hazard Scout if you want to learn more information about some of those other areas. All right, thanks a lot.